Are you ready for a great adventure? Today on The World is Yours, we'll travel to Cairo and rent a camel to tour around some marvelous ancient monuments. We'll see the pyramids, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. We'll then travel to the other side of the world to Buenos Aires. We'll visit San Telmo, one of the oldest districts of the city and one of the most picturesque. And then we're off to Bora Bora, one of the French Polynesian islands. We'll explore the different ways to get around this beautiful island. And then we'll top off this unforgettable trip with a visit to some beaches and crystal clear waters unlike anywhere else. The world is waiting, and the world is yours. Let's start our journey in Cairo, the capital of Egypt and its most important city. With a population of 19.5 million people, Cairo's also the most populous city in Africa, which leads to a lot of activity and a lot of traffic. Cairo hosts some famous sites like the Pyramids of Giza and the Great Sphinx, which have been a source of inspiration for numerous action films and mystery novels. Riding camels are the best means of transportation and quite the adventurous experience not to be missed. However, if you prefer comfort over tradition, the alternative of riding horseback is available. Camel riding is a magical journey, like traveling back in time. Feel like a pharaoh while riding this unique, humpbacked animal and enjoy the same sights as the ancient Egyptians did, as they traveled through the desert in caravans to barter and trade with others. Let's continue our journey into Giza, a plateau located southwest of Cairo and elevated above the valley of the Nile. Within it lays the most important monuments of ancient Egypt and probably the world. The Pyramids of Giza and the Great Sphinx characterize this monumental set filled with mysteries. Even though there are countless theories on how they were possibly built, a definite conclusion has never been reached and remains a challenge for scientists and experts to this day. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, or Cheops, was the first one to be built. Later, they built the Pyramid of Khafre, or Khephren, and the Pyramid of Menkaure, or Miserino, the names of the son and grandson of Khufu, the pharaoh who built the first one. The 3 pyramids were built during the Old Kingdom. Each had complementary buildings, most of which are in ruins today. The Great Pyramid of Khufu has 3 queen's pyramids placed to the east and 5 pits for solar boats. The solar boats were ships that followed the cycle of death and resurrection of the sun. Their purpose was to transfer the bodies of deceased kings from their home to their tomb. There's an exhibit in a small museum next to the Great Pyramid featuring a small solar boat that was buried during that time and has been reassembled from its original 1,224 pieces, all still in good condition. This boat must have been used to transport the corpse across the Nile into its final resting place. This imposing and enormous structure is the Great Sphinx of Giza. It represents the king with the strength of a lion and the intelligence of a man. It was the first time that a statue was used as a guardian of the royal tomb. The monumental sculpture, measuring 238 feet in length and 66 feet in height, is located 12 miles from Cairo, in the heart of the desert and close to its neighboring pyramid of Khafre. It was supposedly built around the 26th century BC. Its specific origin is unknown, although it's attributed to a pharaoh of the Old Kingdom. The Sphinx remained hidden for many centuries, practically buried under the desert sand. Only its head was visible, and in 1817, with the first excavation, the sculpture was unearthed up to its shoulders. Then numerous excavations and restorations followed over 2 centuries. Now, let's take a break from the hot desert sun and go to el-Khalili, the oldest and largest souk, or marketplace, in the heart of Cairo. Its origin dates back to 1382, when the emir ordered the creation of a place where traders could display their merchandise, keep horses, and store cargo. This market, or bazaar, is a winding labyrinth of streets filled with stands of goods for sale, with vendors who would rather bargain for the right price than lose your business. In addition to shopping stalls, you'll find charming coffee houses, such as Fishawi, more than 200 years old, where you can eat a kebab. You can also ask for kashari, a traditional Egyptian dish from the 19th century, made of rice, macaroni, lentils, and chickpeas, ideal for vegetarians and vegans. Kashari is considered to be Egypt's national dish, but it is very popular in other parts of the Middle East. The el-Khalili souk is an essential visit while in the capital of Egypt. Well, our adventure in Cairo has come to an end. It's time to move on, but before we go, let's test your world knowledge. In which city was the first South American subway built? A. In Brasilia. B. In Montevideo. C. In Buenos Aires. D. In Caracas. The answer coming up when we return to The World is Yours. Welcome back. Let's learn the answer to our question. In which city was the first South American subway built? A. Brasilia. B. Montevideo. C. Buenos Aires. D. Caracas. If you said Buenos Aires, you're right. This subway was inaugurated in 1913 and presently is the most used means of transportation by porteños, the inhabitants of this capital. Buenos Aires is the capital of Argentina. In this charming city, we'll visit San Telmo, one of the city's oldest neighborhoods. We'll take a boat ride on El Rio de la Plata. And then, we'll go on a tour to La Boca to see its legendary soccer stadium. Buenos Aires is a beautiful city located in the eastern central part of this South American country, with a population of more than 13 million people. A place where modern and old coexist in perfect harmony. We start in San Telmo, one of Buenos Aires' most traditional and smallest neighborhoods. Its particular architecture is due to the region's wealthiest families moving there from 1852. However, this ended in 1871 when a yellow fever epidemic struck the area and its survivors moved to what is now known as Barrio Norte. In this bohemian neighborhood, you can easily get lost walking through its cobblestone streets, where you find little cafes, museums, and antique shops. Plaza Dorrego is at the heart of San Telmo, and the oldest square after Plaza de Mayo. Every Sunday, this square becomes the setting for for a peculiar and intriguing antique fair. We're now in the Paseo de la Historieta, a street circuit in Barrio San Telmo that pays homage to the characters of the main comic strips created by famous Argentine cartoonists. Among them, Mafalda, a character known worldwide, created by the popular artist Kino in the year 1962. In the Paseo de la Historieta, a statue of Mafalda sits on a bench, watching the world with the same curious gaze that made her character famous. Buenos Aires is full of walkways, aromas, corners, and nostalgia. Let's continue our interesting journey through El Rio de la Plata. This breathtaking experience is a relaxing escape from the hustle and bustle of big cities. We'll sail on a boat from Puerto Madero to see and enjoy the Parana Delta. Puerto Madero is a massive urban project that offers different spaces for sport practices. It has a fishing pier, restaurants, and many walkways to go over and see the beauty that is the Parana Delta. Well, all this exploring has made me hungry. It's time to enjoy the delicious cuisine this city has to offer us. Where it's not difficult to find a great croissant breakfast or the well-known empanadas stuffed with meat or cheese. Argentina is famous for its barbecue with juicy meats and sausages, and you cannot pass on the chimichurri sauce. There are all sorts of pizza, and if we want dessert, we can try delicious alfajores and wash it down with a cup of mate. How about we continue our stroll through La Boca? The neighborhood's unique name was given after its location at the mouth of the Matanza Riachuelo River. Among other things, this neighborhood is famous for hosting the Boca's Juniors Stadium, known as La Bombonera, an iconic piece of South American soccer history. If you love soccer, you can visit the small museum, where there are photographs and videos that tell the story of the club's greatest triumphs since 1905. Soccer, or football, is a true passion in Argentina, and Buenos Aires has the largest concentration of football clubs in the world, with 21 clubs, 18 of them with their own stadiums. Buenos Aires won't cease to amaze. It has attractions for all tastes and budgets, like Caminito, located in the popular neighborhood of La Boca, and which, in 1959, was officially transformed into a pedestrian-friendly street museum, which originated its name. Buenos Aires is a city filled with books and writers. These are part of its history, such as El Café Tortoni, a cafe that houses a bookstore. Other bookshops worth a visit are the Ateneo Grand Splendid and the Café Cortázar, a cafe bookstore built in honor to the writer Julio Cortázar. Stay tuned! We're going to continue this magical journey after the break, but first, let's again test your world knowledge. What is an atoll? A mountain. B, a submarine volcano. C, a ring-shaped coral reef. D, a small island. Don't miss the answer to this question, which happens to be our next destination in The World Is Yours. Welcome back. Let's find out the answer to our last question. What is an atoll? A mountain. B, a submarine volcano. C, a ring-shaped coral reef. D, a small island. If your answer was a ring-shaped coral reef, you're right. Welcome to Tupai. Tupai is a ring-shaped coral reef created by 6 small islands. If seen from above, it forms a heart. Tupai is just north of the dazzling island of Bora Bora. Bora Bora's main island has an extinct volcano that's 2,385 feet high, which is surrounded by a beautiful lagoon and barrier reef. Because travelers from all across the world are attracted to the island's breathtaking scenery and relaxing atmosphere, its economy thrives on tourism. On this trip to Bora Bora, we'll discover the different forms of transportation, like riding in a helicopter, on a boat, or hiking. Then, we'll go under the surface to explore its colorful, clear waters up close. Let's begin with a flight through the skies in a helicopter. You'll want to experience this tour at least once during your trip because there's no better way to take in the picturesque landscape. Once the helicopter takes off, you'll be amazed by the multiple shades of blue in the island's lagoon. During the flight, we'll even get a spectacular view of Mount Otomanu's peak. Since Bora Bora is surrounded by water, getting around by boat is a popular way to explore. Being able to sail in the open seas and anchor near the coral reefs is one of the best ways to experience the island. Below the surface, you'll be able to take in the mesmerizing colors that Bora Bora's depths have to offer. Hiking is an exciting way to capture the many perspectives of the island. The most famous hiking route in Bora Bora leads to the shoulders of the island's highest peak, Mount Otomanu. From where you can view the island's vast beauty, the hiking road begins in Veru Bay, where you'll discover interesting animals like wild goats. Some tourists may be tempted to get close to them, but since they're known for their aggressive behavior, it's better to keep your distance. The higher you go, the more complicated the climb becomes. But don't worry, the view at the top is definitely worth the expedition. You can't miss Mount Pahia. It stands at almost 2,159 feet. Since it's right next to its neighbor, Mount Otomanu, you'll understand why these are considered the island's centerpiece. As you may have imagined, Bora Bora is the ideal place to try underwater activities like scuba diving and snorkeling. For the thrill seekers out there, book an underwater shark and ray feeding exhibition. If you love diving and snorkeling and have an appetite for adventure, you're in the right place. Don't go away, we've got more coming your way, but first, it's time to test your world knowledge. What is the ma'atenito? A typical Brazilian dish. B, a piece of clothing of Amazonian indigenous people. C, a typical Polynesian dish. D, a typical South Seas climactic phenomenon. The answer coming up when we return to The World is Yours. Welcome back. In the previous segment, we measured your knowledge of the world and we asked the following. What is the ma'atenito? A. A typical Brazilian dish. B. A piece of clothing of Amazonian indigenous people. C. A typical Polynesian dish. D. A typical South Seas climactic phenomenon. If you said a typical Polynesian dish, you're right. The ma'atenito is a dish made with pork, red beans, spinach, and macaroni. It's one of the many dishes you can enjoy in Bora Bora. Well, that wraps up today's adventure, and what a great adventure it's been! We visited the mysterious and magical pyramids and the city of Cairo, the lovely Buenos Aires, and then crossed the ocean and plunged into the natural wonders of Bora Bora. See you on the next trip. We've got more spectacular places to explore. The world is waiting, and the world is yours.